Throughout history, the figure of the Antichrist has captured the imagination of theologians, scholars, and believers. This enigmatic figure, prophesied in both Christian and Islamic eschatology, is often seen as a powerful political, military, and religious leader who will oppose Christ in the last days. In this video, we will examine potential candidates who have been linked to the Antichrist: the Mahdi Imam, the Pope, Vladimir Putin, and the King of England. As we delve into these theories, we will also explore modern societal issues such as chemtrails, surveillance, and systemic abuses of power, which have heightened mistrust in governments and global leaders. Could the Antichrist be a single individual? Or is it a system or office representing collective power and deception? Let's dive into the evidence. Who is the Antichrist? The question is best answered by asking who is an Antichrist. The Bible clearly defines signs of the Antichrist. This evil leader will display all of these signs. Antichrists are born every generation, and like sleeper cells, they are ready to be activated into the office of the Antichrist. Until this point, any and all of the people named usually operate as an Antichrist and will work diligently to bring about Satan's agenda on the earth. This means that at this very moment, we must be more concerned about those that are an Antichrist, as they are the vehicle and the arms of the Antichrist. Section 1. Biblical and Historical Context. The term Antichrist comes from the Greek word antichristos, which can mean opposite to Christ, against Christ, or one who puts himself in the place of Christ. This concept is rooted in passages from the Bible, including 1 John 2:18-22, which warns of many antichrists, and 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4, which describes a man of lawlessness who exalts himself as God. In Islamic eschatology, a similar figure, Al-Dajjāl, or the deceiver, is described as a false messianic leader who will appear during a time of great tribulation. Both traditions emphasize deception, power, and opposition to God's truth. Section 2. The Pope as the Antichrist. One long-standing theory posits that the Pope embodies the Antichrist. Arguments. 4. The Pope's claim to be the vicar of Christ on earth has been interpreted by some as an attempt to take Christ's place. Critics point to actions such as forbidding marriage for priests and selling indulgences as un-Christ-like behaviors. Additionally, the rise of the Jesuit order, with its influence on global politics and religion, has led some to view the papacy as a powerful and deceptive institution. Arguments against. The Catholic Church, under the Pope's leadership, has historically promoted global charity, peace, and interfaith dialogue. Dismissing these contributions as purely deceptive undermines the complexities of the institution. Section 3. The Mahdi Imam. In Islamic eschatology, the Mahdi is a prophesied leader who will establish justice and lead Muslims in the last days. However, parallels between the Mahdi and the Antichrist have been drawn. Arguments. 4. Like the Antichrist, the Mahdi is portrayed as a powerful political and religious leader. The Mahdi is said to make a 7-year peace treaty with Israel, which aligns with certain biblical prophecies about the Antichrist. Additionally, Islamic teachings about the Mahdi's implementation of Sharia law and a new calendar could be seen as fulfilling the biblical warnings about deception and law changes. Arguments against. The Mahdi's role in Islamic tradition is seen as divinely guided, contrasting with the Antichrist's outright opposition to God. Context matters when interpreting these similarities. Section 4. Vladimir Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin has been suggested as a potential Antichrist due to his consolidation of power and global influence. Arguments. 4. Putin's military aggression and alleged efforts to destabilize other nations have been interpreted as fulfilling the role of a political leader who brings chaos. His authoritarian governance style and alignment with some religious institutions have further fueled speculation. Arguments against. Putin's actions, while controversial, lack the messianic or Christ-like claims associated with the Antichrist. His influence, though significant, does not encompass the global religious leadership typically attributed to this figure. Section 5. The King of England, the British monarchy's historical ties to religion and governance, have also placed it under scrutiny. Arguments. 4. Monarchs have historically wielded power over both church and state, making them potential candidates for a figure who could act in place of Christ. Modern mistrust in hereditary power has added to this theory. Arguments against. The monarchy's role today is largely symbolic, with limited political influence. Associating the King of England with the Antichrist may rely more on historical grievances than present realities. Section 6. Chemtrails, harassment, and global distrust. Modern society's mistrust in governments and institutions has reached unprecedented levels. Reports of chemtrails, targeted surveillance, and systemic abuses of power add to the belief that we live in a time of great deception, as prophesied in biblical texts. These societal issues create fertile ground for the rise of a figure like the Antichrist, who thrives on deception and control. As governments and elites are increasingly exposed for corruption and abuse, many believe that the stage is being set for the ultimate deceiver to emerge. Section 7. The Antichrist as an office, not a person. Some argue that the Antichrist is not a single individual, but an office or system. This theory suggests that positions of power, such as the papacy, global elites, or political dynasties, embody the spirit of the Antichrist through their collective influence and control. For example, the Jesuit order's influence within the Catholic Church is cited as evidence of this systemic interpretation. The identity of the Antichrist remains a subject of debate and speculation. Whether embodied by a single person, a system, or an office, the characteristics of this figure, deception, opposition to Christ, and a claim to divine authority, remain clear. As we face increasing societal unrest and revelations of systemic abuse, the warnings of Scripture about vigilance and discernment become ever more relevant. What do you think? Could the Antichrist be one of these figures, or is the truth even more complex? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into biblical prophecy and modern issues.